Welcome, everyone, to Podcast Theory Productions in association with High Desert Screening. My name's Jesse, and today we have with us Mr. Eric Streeper, founder and CEO of ZRBTV. Eric, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much, Jesse. Yeah, it's really good to be here.
So, you founded ZRBTV. Now, what gave you, what inspired you, what gave you this idea to get this whole thing off the ground? Because I'm sure this is a big undertaking.
Definitely, yeah, it definitely has been. So my background, well, these days I do a lot of software development and have been doing that for actually quite a long time now. And along with everything else, as the CEO of a startup, but actually, I started out my career in finance, and the first job I had was actually working in royalties for a business manager that was, serving musicians and entertainers and that kind of thing. And so I think it was actually then that I sort of, got the inspiration to do this. I mean, because really, we had a lot of, clients that have like very big names and that kind of thing, and they would be, they'd be coming into the office to pick up checks and that sort of thing because they couldn't wait 3 days to get them in the mail. And so I just kind of saw that there was this big disconnect between, I guess, like how people, how successful people thought artists were and how financially successful they actually were.
Okay.
So I think that was really like the impetus for this, and at the time, YouTube was really becoming super hot and everything, and we had some YouTubers that we worked with, and I was really amazed by how little they actually got from those, basically from those advertising revenues that you get from YouTube. And so, and so it was, on the one hand, it was exciting because, like YouTube did make it so that, people could get their content out there. But the problem is it never really solved the problem of getting the creators paid for their work, really. And so years later, after seeing, obviously like the rise of Netflix and all these things, which now are just, commonplace, of course, but basically, after looking at, well, what are the best sources of revenue in film and media, and why is it that independent creators have no access to them? So that was really the problem that we set out to solve with ZRB.
Okay, so you guys are focusing on getting independent creators recognized on platforms and getting them financially compensated for the work or the content that they're creating.
Yes, especially that latter part. Yeah, I think the financial component for us is the key thing. I mean, because that's really the part that we want to crack is, not just this kind of amorphous exposure idea, but I mean, how do you really get people paid for their work, regardless of whether it's a feature film or a short. As you know, a lot of times, I mean, shorts, once they've kind of done their festival circuit, there's really not much of a road for them. And so, but with the medium of the internet, there's no reason that needs to be the case. So yes, so for us, that's definitely the focus is on really identifying what are those really profitable things that that are available, and how can independent creators take advantage of those.
I am so glad that you guys are doing this. I can remember back as a kid hearing my parents being frustrated with the cable company because they liked the cable service, but they didn't want all the channels that came with it. They wanted a few. So I'm thinking to myself, this was going to happen. At some point, somebody was going to create platforms and start getting things out there a la carte style. So this, they had to see this coming. But I am so thankful for people like you and people getting out there and making platforms and letting the little guy get out there, because there's so many talented people out there that have been suppressed, if you will, and now it's becoming more available and easier to do.
Definitely. I mean, it's just been amazing seeing the caliber of films that we do have and that people are adding, and so I mean, to us, that's really the rewarding part. I mean, I think is that we want more people to see these films, and we've also, I think the really interesting thing is that there's now now with the advent of virtual events and that sort of thing, like people have demonstrated that they're actually willing to pay for independent content, which was always kind of the I guess the wild card. Like, a lot of people thought that maybe people wouldn't pay for independent content, but they definitely are. I mean, they're was actually just running some numbers a couple days ago, and you know, like the average ticket price is around $8, which is not too much less than what you might pay at a theater, and this is for digital, for online. And so, you know, obviously, you know, as an independent creator, you don't have any overhead with that. So yeah, I mean, I think it is really an interesting time, and there have been really interesting changes that were sort of accelerated by the pandemic and that sort of thing, which I think are here to stay.
Yeah, you know, that's, you know, I've always thought that if the creators that I follow on the, I'll just say the streaming platforms, if they were to leave and go to a different platform, I would follow the streamers or the creators, you know. I don't really necessarily have anything vested in, say, that one platform. I won't name its name, but I don't really think they treat the creators very fairly. So, you know, I've always thought if the creators were just get up and go, I would follow them. You know, my allegiance is to them. So I'm so glad that that there's multiple options showing up for people to go, and you know.
Definitely, yeah. And I think, and for us, I mean, and that's really the business model, is that, you know, I mean, so we've deliberately set things up in a way that is kind of, you know, goes against everything that we don't like about, you know, about film and media. I mean, so like, you know, with if you work with us, there's no exclusivity or anything like that. It's you distributing your own films, and I think that's, you know, I think that's a really big difference, is that, you know, and really, I mean, there's that old saying that content is king, you know, and it's kind of a cliche, but it's also true. I mean, I think you're exactly right. I mean, there's no, people don't, you know, have any particular allegiance to the platforms. They just want to see really good content. And so, I mean, for us, I think that what's going to, you know, what's going to be the best thing for us is if we can enable ways for people to, for again, you know, independent creators and filmmakers to just be able to release their content directly to people. You know, so there's creating this, you know, a direct relationship, if you will, between the audience and the people making the content they're viewing.
Yeah, I was looking at your website. You guys have a whole host of amazing things that you offer at these festivals. So if you don't mind, I'd like to read a few of them off.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, let me just click on your website here. Okay, so for those of you who are not familiar with ZRBTV, it's XERB.TV. But for some of the features that they offer for film festivals, they include private lounges for filmmakers and attendees, no limits on number of sizes of videos, caps on attendees and geo restrictions, custom passes including early bird, real-time access to sales data, option to seamlessly share earnings with filmmakers, free technical support for you and your attendees, set pricing in 130 plus currencies, and zero upfront costs or setup fees, which, my God, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, so for us, I mean, we're really fortunate. I mean, so there, you know, we're a team of software developers, so we've been able to. The reason that we're able to do all of this is just basically through automation, you know, and through making tools that can just be generally used. And for us too, I mean, I think because, you know, I think in part because I do have that financial background, I'm really big into the concept of financial incentives. And so for us, we do not want to make money by charging our partners, essentially, by charging filmmakers or the channels that we're working with and that sort of thing. You know, we really think that we want this to be a shared opportunity that, you know, I mean, so we do keep a commission, but, you know, that we basically want to only make money once our partners are making money. And so that's why we very deliberately, we've really put a lot of thought into how we set up the company itself as well, and that revenue sharing structure, so that it works for you know, for regardless of whether, you know, for festivals, you know, we don't care if you have 100 attendees or 10,000 or whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, we want to be able to work with everyone. We want this to be available to everyone.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, I was thinking, do you guys have any plans to also make this an app and not just a website?
Yeah, definitely. And so we, so it is, so well, you certainly can use it on your mobile phone and that kind of thing. We do also have plans to have installable apps as well. and as well as for some different some of the TV connected devices as well. The main one on our roadmap right now being Roku, so adding support for that. We do have integrations as well for Chromecast and Apple TV, but it seems like and Fire Stick as well. But Roku is kind of the one that we're missing right now. So as far as like product development, we're definitely looking to build that in as well.
Okay, that'll be great. Yeah, a lot of ease of use and access for the user. That's going to be, they're going to love you guys for that once you come out with that.
Definitely, yeah. And when we added those other devices, the TV connected devices, I mean, people definitely, use those a lot. So, I mean, they, people obviously like to watch things on their TV, especially now that everyone is stuck at home and that kind of thing.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, for sure, those are definitely important priorities for us.
So another thing that we wanted to hit on was the collapse of the let's say revenue window, the time length that a piece would stay in the theaters, if you will, or whatever platform, is dramatically just closed down over the past year.
So I think that's really interesting. We've seen, there's been a lot of change with that, where you see studios that are starting to release things either to streaming directly or at the same time as they do theatrical releases, or really shortening that window a lot, because the way that the studios normally operate is to they'll first release things in theaters, and they'll they get their money from that, and they'll release things to maybe for digital purchase and that kind of thing, or DVDs, and then eventually you get to sort of like the more long tail distribution, like the advertising supported, maybe playing on free to air stations and that kind of thing. So they have this concept of that they sort of have had this long-standing strategy of how they'll kind of maximize the profit potential of their films. And I think for independent creators, I think because of the internet now, I think that you can also sort of start to think in these same terms. And so, like for us, I mean, we think that, for instance, that you could do very well, for instance, by having your content released first via these virtual events where people are purchasing tickets and that sort of thing, and be able to basically kind of do those types of things, and maybe maybe kind of keep your product off of like YouTube and that kind of thing. You can obviously put your film on there and hope that people will see it, but advertising just pays so little that you're not likely to get much of a return from that. And so what we're really hoping is that we can kind of provide, just in the same way that the studios are able to have these sort of revenue windows that they use to maximize profit, that we can provide a very similar kind of structure for filmmakers as well.
Yeah, I can't help but think that with everybody working from home, a lot of companies and businesses are realizing it's okay to have the employee at home, and they don't necessarily need them to come into the office. And I think that concept is getting into the universal consciousness, and that's going to unfold many more opportunities for, say, like streaming platforms such as ZRBTV, and people to realize, hey, theaters are great, but I don't necessarily need to go out to a theater or go to a brick and mortar building. It's okay to pop up an app or hit ZRBTV and find out what follow my local favorite creator or whatever. So I think that's going to be the kickoff for people to, for new technologies to come up at home, whip open your phone or your internet, and it's going to allow the little guy to really be able to get noticed and grow. And
something that we think is also really interesting is that, I think, there's become this, I think that, a lot of these organizations, these more traditional, or these brick and mortar establishments, like theaters, for instance, like that what's, I think, pre-pandemic, they would not have even considered doing any kind of digital offerings or anything like that. And this forced them into it. And I think but now they've kind of had this taste of it. I think what they're seeing is that their online audience and their in-person audience, I mean, it's basically the same people, so I think, what I think is really interesting is that now these, like, for instance, art house theaters, there's a big opportunity here, I think, as well, that they could work directly with filmmakers and be able to have online offerings that complement their in-person offerings as well, and I think that's been a really, really interesting trend. And I think that's something that we're going to continue to see stick around, because for them, it's just, It's not much additional overhead, and it's basically just another source of revenue for them. So there's not really a reason why they wouldn't continue that. And the other thing also interesting, I mean, you know, especially like, so we've really focused a lot as well on like that social experience. So like if you go into a virtual event, if I'm just part of the audience, I can talk to the filmmaker. I mean, I can leave messages for the filmmaker, and they can come in and respond to me. I can ask questions. I can talk to other attendees and that sort of thing. I think that's a really important aspect of this too. That you know, I think especially for an independent creator, you can definitely. I mean, it's easy for you to participate in things like that. Whereas for, you know, that's something that even like a big studio or something couldn't really provide at the same level. You know, I mean, so I mean, I think there's a lot of really interesting opportunities around really making deeper connections to your audience, like if you are an independent filmmaker, through these new online mediums.
Oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, I've always been torn because the local theater here in Albuquerque, the big one, I won't name it, but I love that theater. You know, they've always kept it clean and up, and everything's been beautiful, but it's, again, it's time for new technologies to come out. And again, I know I'm kicking a dead horse here to get the little guy out there. We need these platforms to come up. I don't want anything to happen in the brick and mortar places because I love going there. I love the experience, but we need the little guy to be able to have more availability to get out there, you know?
Definitely, yeah. And I do think that, you know, I mean, certainly I think that people will, I mean, I love going to the movies. I love going out to the theater and that kind of thing. And I don't, you know, I don't think that that's going to go away. But my hope is that actually these virtual offerings that now, you know, your local theater can actually run one of these. I mean, I think that's really, really cool. I mean, I think that's a way that they can actually strengthen their business. And hopefully, you know, because it's not, you know, it has not been easy to be in art house cinema for a long time. And so I think like if, you know, but I think this is actually, you know, in of course things have been really bad for them over the last year, but I think this has opened new opportunities for them as well because of these virtual offerings. I mean, I think it's something that's really an interesting change.
You know, I was thinking in addition to the virtual offerings there at the theaters, it would, and this is not a new concept, it's been done sporadically here and there, but I think that the viewing audience would really love it if maybe you had a surprise appearance after the credits run by the director or one of the actors or something, whoever can make it, you know, just walk out in front of the seats and just, you know, hey, how's it going? And the crowd goes, oh my God. You know, that would be, you know, it's not new, but it's still been sparse here and there. And I think that would help bring in the audience to there. And you can still have your virtual offering. The theater itself could still get the business. So it'd be, you know, it'd be a way for everybody to collab together, you know.
Definitely. And I think, you know, for independent filmmakers and for independent theaters, I mean, I think all the independent people just need to band together. I mean, collectively, they're very, very strong. You know, I mean, it's a, and I think that, you know, by providing easy ways for them to collaborate together, I think that opens up a lot of really interesting new things. Yeah, I mean, I think that's, you know, that's definitely, I think, something we're going to see a lot more of in the future.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see one side or the other kind of push the other out. I think, like you just said, by collabing, that will bring about really wonderful opportunities for everybody. And I think great technologies from that will come out, you know, to help society keep expanding and growing with its technology is what we need. You know, we don't need the pendulum swinging too far one way or the other. Just everybody stay calm. It'll be okay. Let's all work together and everybody will get seen and recognized. And
I can definitely get behind that. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, that looks like that'll put us right about the 20-minute mark. So we'll go ahead and call it there. But you guys out there, ZRBTV, XERB.TV, go check it out on your web browser. Hopefully, app coming soon-ish, maybe at some point when you guys get it developed. Again, Mr. Streeper, thank you so much for joining and getting those topics out there, and thank you so much again for what you're doing. I appreciate it. And I know just from talking to people that I know, they are very excited about independent platforms popping up. So their creators can have a place to go, and then they can go watch their creators, not just, you know, one source per se.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me, Jesse. And yeah, and I'm really looking forward to High Desert screening too. So that's going to be really fun. So yeah, looking forward to this for sure.
So you're going to be there for sure?
Yes, I will.
Okay. Excellent. Well, sir, thank you, and have a good weekend, and hopefully I'll be talking to you again soon.
I hope so. Yeah. Same to you. Have a good one.
All right. Thank you too.